Slăvit să fie Domnul! Se pare că am intrat în criză de timp. E foarte greu să vorbești mult în puțin. Foarte greu. La slavă Domnului, facem ce putem. În același timp voiam să vă plictisesc cu limba engleză prea mult. Știu că nu voiam să vă încerc îndelungă răbdare. Ce ziceți de cântarea asta a lui fratele Moldoveanu, care a fost înainte? Cântarea corului a fost superbă, pentru că e un imn frumos. Dar ce părere aveți? Așa ca români, acum aia între noi, așa nimeni nu așa când suntem așezați după o cântare de asta de lui fratele Moldoveanu. Hai, să fim sinceri, așa, noi. Avem așa fibră noi. E ceva acolo. Nu suntem noi chiar anglosaxoni, deși unii vrem să trecem, că nu suntem chiar. E acolo spiritul ăla mioritic, carpatino-dunărean, balcanii. Nu iese, dacă vă spun eu, sângele nu se, apă nu se face. Așa, frate, da, așa e. Așa că degeaba încercăm noi să vorbim și limba. Eu degeaba ce să vorbesc literar în limba engleză, că n-am nicio șansă, da, vă spun, n-am cum să vei. Câteodată mă gândesc cum îmi vin cuvintele, adică trebuie să le caut pe undeva, ce cuvânt ar fi mai potrivit aici, pentru că nu vorbești toată ziua engleză și nu vorbești teologie. Da, slăvit să fie Domnul. Am vrut și eu să caut, pentru că mi-a plăcut disertația fratelui despre cântări și foarte interesant. Și am zis, băi, o să cânt și eu o cântare, n-am mai cântat de mult și nu cred că erați împotrivă prea mulți ca să nu fi cântat și eu odată măcar la câțiva ani, dar vă promit că o să o cânt și o cântăm cu noi toți împreună când o să vedem. Acum nu mai e timp, oricum. Slavă Domnului că am ajuns și aici. Să-i dăm drumul și lui ăsta la tehnică, să vedem. Merge, trebuie să-l pun on, da? Ok. Bun, cred că e on. Prin harul Domnului am ajuns aici la lecția asta 6 și eu știu, am primit și feedback bun. Probabil unii trăim cu impresia că tinerii nu mă flipuie și nu mă fac asta. Eu vă spun că nu e chiar așa. Nu o să vin să vă destăinui eu pe toți care vin la mine și îmi spun, și unii pe ocolite, așa probabil că se tem unii să-mi spună. Dar vin și de la mici la mari care să-mi spună că au avut feedback și am auzit că au avut alții feedback care au dus la școlile lor, slava numai a Domnului. Pentru că la unii o să fie întotdeauna aia puțin pe care îi interesează, vă spun eu. O să fie puțin. Dacă ne-ar da fratele Matei un test când ieșim în hol după predicile lui, care sunt totuși la un nivel destul de ridicat și ar trebui să apeleze și face tot efortul ca să înțelegem, nu știu cât am trece testul cu ce s-a spus, da? Aia rămâne de văzut. Și acum eu trebuiască să fug prin asta, o să mai spun un lucru în românește, după care trecem în engleză. Azi o să vorbim despre moralitate, în general despre această definiție. Cine definește adevărul, cine definește moralitatea, cine definește ce-i rău, ce-i bun, cine definește, până la urmă, cine există o autoritate în asta sau nu există, pentru că lumea în care trăim se pare că se pierde. Spunea fratele Manu despre acei copii care au ajuns și tineri, care au ajuns să facă anumite lucruri și anumite... Săptămâna asta citeam ceva foarte trist despre se pare că au fost 2 frați. În San Jose, mi se pare, California, dacă sunt exact, au fost 2 frați. Unul de 23 și unul de 17 ani. Și au omorât părinții. Amândoi părinții și i-au omorât. Și după aia s-au dus la ceva convenție de-a lor, de asta, așa, de desene animate sau nu știu ce. Deci trăim în o lume în care nu mai există sens, nu mai există discernerea ceea ce e rău și așa e bine. Și învățăm copiii de mici. Asta, învățăm. Da, învățăm în școli. Da. Să ne rugăm pentru tineri. Dacă îi pierdem pe ei, generația care îi pierde, am pierdut tot, să știți. Dacă pierdem tineri, am pierdut tot. Nu ne rămâne nimic. Okay, now I would like to address the young people like we did before. I have, like Brother Matei said, I have some good news and some bad news. The good news is we have one more session and that should be good for o parte și alaltă, you know. Some people think it's good, some people think it's not good. There will be one more session, probably in June sometime, before July. But we'd like to talk, let's define what's moral objectivism. It's a great battle that's been given daily for your mind, for your soul. Either you like it or not, you're going to be on the side of one of the barricades, on either side. You're going to decide on which barricade. If you notice, I present things in at least 2 worldviews. Every time I come to you, I present it from a different domain, and I present it from 2 Two possibilities. There's only two ways. We like to think there's a gray area. You know what I mean? The times we live, there's less and less of a gray area and very definite good and bad choices. Remember, whatever side you'll decide to be on will greatly impact your life and will decide eventually your destiny, where you're going to go. Okay, very short, some definitions here of what is moral objectivism and what is moral relativism, because relativism is what is popular today is relativism. The moral objectivism today is considered outdated. It's considered we don't need it. There is one set single of values. There is one truth. The moral objectivism defines a position that states that moral truths exist outside, independent, external, above and beyond humans' opinion, preferences, time, culture, place, society, nations. Somewhere transcends. We have laws in traffic, right? Why can't we circulate on every left and right the way we like? What would happen if we circulate like that? Let me ask you this. If you go, let's say you go on an airplane and you want to go to a destination, what kind of pilot would you like to have? A relativistic pilot or an absolute pilot that takes you to a certain destination? You'd like somebody that really uses relativity, and he might think that north is there and south is there and will take you anywhere. Which one would you step on a plane where you consider this pilot is kind of relativistic? What do you think? What would be your choice? Huh? I wouldn't think so. Okay. We have GPSs, right? They physically give us our direction, and they're very helpful. Thank God for technology sometimes. We have other things that help us, right? But moral subjectivism, relativism, this is bigger. I just split it in two because there is so much to talk about. In relativism, we talk about multiculturalism, pluralism of culture. We talk about equality, that every culture can define its own set of values and so on and so forth. So let's just define it with me. Read with me if you can. This position states there is no moral, transcendental, objective truth. There is nothing coming above, greater than us. It's only what we can define through our opinion, our arbitrary preferences, attitudes, cultural conventions, feelings, and collective interests. Who is to say what is right or wrong? Who is to say what is right or wrong? Is your parent? No, because he's old school, right? Parents are old school. Grandparents even older school. They don't know anything. This Bible is old. And this is where we are today as a society. And unfortunately, we have to run through this, like I said. There is a great Russian classical writer called Fyodor Dostoevsky. In the Brother Karamazov, he puts a line there. There is a line. Some of you still read classical literature. Russia gave good universal classical literature. And he has a saying that became famous. He says, if there is no God, everything is permissible. If there is no God, I am allowed to hit you, I'm allowed to steal, I'm allowed to do this, I'm allowed to do this. Who are you to judge me if there is no God? Who are you to judge me? If there is no God, there is no objective good. Remember, objective? For this would be God. The atheist has no logical basis to say the murder, rape, stealing, deceiving, lying, and so on are objectively bad. They have no adjudication approach to this and principle to say this is bad and this is evil. They cannot say that. They can say the following. They can say that they feel bad about some things and hope to convince society to agree to feel bad about them too. For the atheist, good is simply whatever we decide good it is. And if what is good is determined simply by what somebody decides, well, then I'm free to decide that good is something entirely different than you. It may be good for you to drive on the right lane, but if I feel like driving on the left lane, it is fine with me. Who are you to tell me? Now think of this. Think of the consequences where there is no moral objectivity. And let me ask you this. Why in science, why do we have laws that govern everything else in the society, and we don't have laws that govern morality? And we let morality chaotically, and they call themselves progressists. They're so progressive. Think about this. Think about one question, few questions. What are the consequences of rejecting absolutes? What are the consequences in humanity of rejecting them? And you create your own moral frame of values. In an ever-changing, continuous changing molds of moral values. The society, the cultures, people, groups create their own moral values. Society says today, it's very popular, we don't need a moral compass anymore. We can make our own as we go, right? We can make our own as we go. Let's see what Randall Terrell says very quickly. He says, in a world without the law of God, you have chaos, oppression, tyranny, and everyone is doing what is right in their own eyes. And you think, well, how are you going to prove this was history? I love history. For me, history is, if you don't know history, you don't know exactly the human being behavior, you don't know how to live, you don't know the present, you can evaluate the present, and you cannot think of future, you cannot prepare for future. The human being is fallen and is behaved the same throughout history. That's why it's good to know. And we're going to go through some experiments of human history. You're going to see some people, when they try to experiment, one of the most noble causes they thought, and it ended up to be a disaster. And you're going to see, I choose some examples, but you're going to see in this, I just want you to point a few things. History is governed by these demons sometimes, the malefic spirits in history. And you're going to see the hate. You're going to see hate in history. There were experimental societies created and ideologies. And you're going to see the spirit of hate of class struggle, and hate of the rich, of the bourgeois. You're going to see the hate of race, and you're going to see the hate of religion. Who is to say what's right or wrong? Who has the balance to say what's right or wrong? Think about this. This is very familiar to us, to your parents, the grandparents, so on. When you think of communism, what do you think? Your generation don't know. We do. Ask Brother Matei, ask the other generation. We know what communism was. Communism was one of the most noble utopia that was ever created. It's almost biblical. It almost has biblical values, roots. But they rejected God out. They put God out and they create their own thing. They say, we don't need God to create a new man. We will be our God. They say, the proletarian would be our savior. Isn't that what they had? They say, workers of all world unite. They thought of healing or the ills of capitalism, which is true. We live in capitalism. Capitalism is not the perfect society neither. No, God condemns a lot of things in the Old Testament. And they said, well, we will resolve this problem. He said, we'll create a paradise. We will give liberty, brotherhood, equality, and everything else will be done in the name of humanity. He says communism is going to be the dream, the golden dream of humanity. And what you see there, that the communism killed only 100 million, that's a very low figure. Couldn't find another one. It's probably 150, between 150 and 170, 200 million. Communism, they killed, so many people died on the hands of this ideology. Almost half of the planet embraced this ideology, was slave to this. And let me tell you, this paradise they tried to create without God, it paved the road to hell. It paved the road to hell. Because without God, all the greatest ideas are going to end up somewhere far away from God. And the gold dream of humanity became the worst ever imagined nightmare. Now you're going to see this. Who is to say what's right or wrong here? Who is the ultimate authority? Do you see those happy people on the right? I want to tell you something, the ones who probably not in history. You read more documentary and you're going to see that actually Germany was a victim after the First World War. What happened there, people are not faking those miles like we used to do with Ceausescu in Romania. Those are happy. Germans were very happy with him. It took him for a disastrous, depressive, low economic, high unemployment, social moral depression, suicide, instability, poverty. It was a disaster. Germany was a disaster before the Führer rose to power. Those people are very happy. And they say, well, 60 million. Finally, he restored the pride to hurt prideful people. They're not faking that. And who are the ones on the left? The oppressed. Who's to say 500,000 Jewish lived in Germany at that time? Who's to say it was wrong? when 60 millions are happy, right? Who's to say right or wrong? All the Nazism was based basically on one ideology of Nietzsche's. How many heard of Nietzsche's, young people? Nietzsche said God is dead. And he said once in a while, there is these guys like Führer, the Superman, the superhuman, they raise us up and they can set up our own system of values and we're all going to follow. And whoever doesn't follow, we're going to eliminate him. And I'm going to go very fast through the following. It's just going to be images because there is no time. How many of you know that Turkish, the Ottoman Empire, on his collapsing in 1915, killed about 1.5 million Armenians? Someone crucified because they're Christians. The hate of religion, hate of faith. We don't know a lot of histories on that. How about the genocide against our black African Christian brothers in Sudan? Brother Peter Wrong come from there. Look at that person's, what does he say? 3.5 million Christians were killed by Sudanese jihadists, by the Muslims. The Muslims are happy. They think they do something for Allah. They think their system of value is great. They build their own system of value, so he must be right. Right? Well, finally, our beautiful God bless America country. Glory, glory, hallelujah. Yeah? 73. And this is an older clip, I think it's 2 years beyond. How many people? 55 million children died. Killed. For what? For the spirit of comfort, of consumerism, for these progressive ideas. We killed, it's probably even more now, over 60 million. Who said it's right and wrong, right? Who said it was right and wrong? Abortion is legal, but is it moral? Think about that. Not everything that's legal is moral. Think about what happened on June 26, 2015. I don't think I'll ever remember. As long as my Lord keeps me with memory, I'll never forget what happened last year in June 26. Okay, I'll never, because that we as Christians, we should all dress like this in black on that day, next year, every time. I think to me it's the death of this country, whatever it was. It's a sad day. It's a sad day. What happened? How many of us know what happened? We redefined our own system values. We created our own, and we slapped God on his face. And we said, oh, marriage, it doesn't matter. Marriage is not defined anymore between man and a woman. Who's to say this is wrong? Who's to say? He's the one who can say, our Lord, Adonai. I like when the Jewish people say, Shema Israel, the Lord of your God is one. Or I'm going to try to see if I remember it in Hebrew. I'm trying to practice a little bit of Jewish, so don't take me like I'm trying to, I might not even remember. El Adonai, they say El Adonai, El Eloheinu, Ehad. God is one. He gave us the law. He gave his people the law. God is the ultimate reality. He's the ultimate authority in matters of morality. What else? What happened to the people who don't have the law? Read Romans chapter 2. You show the work of law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness in their thoughts, the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another. The voice of conscience in human, it's God's moral law that was inscribed in all of us. It's God's voice in us. That's the ones that's telling us when we do things, that's the judgment of our balance of right and wrong. Look at this. Conscience, it's a built-in system that God put there. The sense is what is right and what is wrong. A good conscience that wasn't corrupted by the world and by the system of the world. It should still respond to God. God's conscience, God's voice in the soul. God speaks. Are you listening? So who is to say what's wrong? And I'm going to flip over this. This is about America, vision and ministry. We don't have time with this. this is nice to know that once there were people here who really care about Bible and country. But I'm asking you this: if there is a God's ultimate authority, and they set up a moral system with absolutes, with values, who are we to redefine what God created? Who are we to redefine the limits, the parameters that God set up for us? Who is human? Who is a dust? Who live on a dust? Because our earth is not even a dust in this universe. It's smaller than a piece of dust. Who are we to raise ourselves against God? I want to ask you this: God, on which side of the barricade are you? Which kind of a system value is going to define your life? Because based on that, your destiny is waiting you at the end of that. Now you're going to be two choices. Because God is the ultimate authority. God is also the final judge. To Him, we're going to owe accountability, a responsibility on that day. Think today. Choose your system of values today. Go deep. Deepen your convictions. Go deep and see what you really... Are your convictions deep enough? Because God... Look what's going to happen in one day. The choice for your final destiny is made based on your decision today. Look at this. In one day, you'll be crying, and judgment, the Lord is going to say, "Depart from me, I never knew you." Or would you like, there's going to be just those two sayings in the day, just two sayings. And the other one on the right was going to say, "This is what we want to hear our Lord say. Come you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world." And let us all who are here hear those words in that day. Amen.
Postmodernism is a mood much more than it is a kind of an organized movement. Postmodernism was at the Garden of Eden when Adam and Eve said, "Has God really said?" What did postmodernism do? It questioned propositional truth. Does a statement really mean what it says, or do you fuse your own meaning into any statement? So postmodernism questioned verbal authority. That's where it all began. You don't leave the authority with the authority goes to the reader. So you can read a book and you become sovereign over the author. That's exactly what happened at the Garden of Eden. They wanted to play as God. So postmodernism is actually quite pre-ancient. It goes back, and now it's come in a sophisticated dress with deconstruction and all of this that came in poetry and literature. Postmodernism is a mixed bag. There are some very dangerous elements to it where absolute truth became conditioned and relativism took hold, but you really don't want a relativist in the lab. You don't want a relativist for a pilot. You don't want to say, "I know that's what the tower is saying, and I know this what the instruments are saying, but I'm going to fuse my own meaning into these readings." So life cannot be lived on the postmodern cutting edge. One thing postmodernism has done, which is constructive, it has a hunger for community. And that's where I think the church should rise. So again, it comes good and bad, a lot of dangerous points in culture because of it. But it was more an idea that then contoured itself into a philosophy rather than a philosophy that made itself available in ideas. We've always resisted an authority. The moment you and I, start walking around as little children, we want to question everything. Why has this person got the right over me? Then you go into school and the teacher gets the right. And then you move into society and somebody else has the right. We don't like absolutes. And what happened when Adam and Eve were challenged with God's laws? The interesting thing is this: there was only one prohibition, only one. In the day that you eat of the knowledge of the tree of good and evil, you shall surely die. And we were told not to eat of that, because in the day we would eat of that, we would be as God, knowing good and evil. What it really meant was we would redefine good and evil. You and I don't have the right to do that. The moment you and I redefine good and evil and we come up with two different definitions, whose good is going to trump the other person's good? That's exactly what has happened in our culture today. We make decisions ad hoc, whether it's on taxes, whether we cheat or not, whether it's on marriages, whether it's in relationships, whether it's in the job or whatever, and we go through different arenas, Cheryl, every day, each with its different ethos. And the collapse of our culture today symptomatically is in economics, but actually is in morality. That's where it all began. I said to a New York Times person who was interviewing me, I said, why are we all so shocked? We taught them in our Ivy League schools that ethics is all relative. And then when they became the head of Enron and acted as relativists, we put them in jail. What has happened? Money has no point of reference anymore. People borrowed without the ability to repay. In my wallet, I carry a $100 million bill. It's an authentic bill, but it's from Zimbabwe, where there is nothing worth anything.
I was going to say, wow, hand over your
Exactly, exactly. This is the point. But what's it worth? It's what's happened with morality. If you and I don't have something by which to measure it, it's really not worth anything. It's something we conjure up. And it's sad to watch how wayward a junior high person can get before they come to the realization that the finest days of their youth have been plundered and squandered because there was no guiding light within them, and the predators are out there. We are living with the eye gate. And it was William Blake, the poet, who said, "This life's dim windows of the soul distorts the heavens from pole to pole and goads you to believe a lie when you see with and not through the eye." What Blake meant was we are intended to see through the eye with the conscience, but we've lost the conscience. We see with the eye, devoid of a conscience. Jesus reminded us that the eye is the lamp of the body. And if the light within you becomes darkness, how great is the darkness indeed? So relativism comes through the eye gate, just as Satan looked at Jesus and said, "I'll give you all of the kingdoms of this world if you will bow down and worship me." That was relativism embodied and enfleshed, as it were, in that. And Jesus said, you shall worship the Lord your God alone, and him only shall you serve. That's where the absolute comes from, and then everything else is measured by that.